And in fact, some people think that the British would have been better administrators of this country if only every Indian knew about the Bengal famines. People were dying of hunger. Millions of people died. Children lying dead in their mother's lap. People standing like skeletons. Man and dog fighting for food in the same bin on the street. Our textbooks don't even talk about it. Why are we so ignorant of our own history? Namaskar. Apparently, 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust. But not many Indians even know that many more Indians died in famines just under the British rule. Not many Indians, forget about the rest of the world. Even Indians do not know about this. The famous ones, the Bengal Famine, the Orissa one, just those would have taken as many lives as the Holocaust itself. But our textbooks don't even talk about it. Why are we so ignorant of our own history? And in fact, some people think that the British would have been better administrators of this country. Really? If only every Indian knew about the Bengal famines, they would not even think about this. So, were there not famines before the British came to India? Yes, they were. But the way they were managed, there's an ocean of difference. The British themselves record, in 1630 there was a famine under Shah Jahan's reign, and in 1661 under Aurangzeb's reign. So they had levied huge taxes on the Hindu farmers, but even they realized that during a famine, it is important to keep people alive. So they reduced the taxes. In fact, they opened houses for the poor to be fed. The Maharana of Udaipur in 1661, at the same time when a famine struck his kingdom, he employed lakhs of people who did not find any other job. He employed them to construct a bund to retain rainwater and river water, so people could earn with respect and not resort to begging. That was the kind of planning the Indian kings did. What happened in 1770? In 1700s, the farmers were paying 10 to 15% of agricultural tax to the Mughal rulers. Overnight, the Mughals signed a treaty with the British, and thereafter the British became the collectors of the tax from people. And the tax was increased from 15% to 50%. Huge jump, huge jump. What did the British do with that money? They only gave 10 to 15% to the Mughal rulers. Rest of it went into the British coffers. This was what they wanted to do. They just wanted to loot the country. The first thing they did after increasing the tax was bring down the grain production and cotton production. India was leading the world in this. Did you know that India was contributing to 1/3 of the world's GDP, and Bengal was contributing to 1/3 of India's GDP at its peak? When the British took over the collection of taxes, they brought down cotton production and grains production. They instead insisted on indigo and poppy seeds, which had a huge international market. India was the leading exporter of that. But can you eat indigo? Can you eat poppy seeds when famine strikes? So this was a huge mismanagement. So in 1770, when a famine struck, the British had already passed an ordinance that nobody should stack up or buy grains. But they themselves had stacked up huge amount of grains just for the export purpose. Millions of people were dying. They did not care. They just exported that to Europe. This was recorded by Karl Marx in his book. Not just this, he even wrote about the 1866 Orissa famine, when a very similar thing happened. A lot of things were getting exported, but local Indians were dying of hunger. The official British government statistics say more than 2 million people died in the 1770 famine of Bengal, 1866 famine of Orissa, a few million people died. These are all official numbers. In fact, when 1866 famine happened, the government did not take any action. They did not provide any relief till it came to the point where its own troops did not have any food. Then they, after everything happened, they wrote a note. Oh, we could have done something, but we didn't do. While they were not even apologizing, millions of people had already died. So there were multiple famines after that. There was one in 1875, 1892, 97, 1900. When such famines were, raging across India, the 1902 Delhi Darbar of the British, it was held with such pomp and extravagance that people wondered if only this much amount was spent on giving food to people, nobody would have died in these famines. This was how British managed India. The famines earlier were at least natural, but the 1943 one, that was mostly man-made, and how cruel can that be? Winston Churchill was constantly reminded that India's situation is grave and the situation is pretty bad in terms of availability of food grains. So he is supposed to have said, if the situation was so bad, how is Mahatma Gandhi still alive? Gandhi was arrested during the 1942 Quit India movement and he was in jail. So Churchill said, if Gandhi is alive, there is no famine, everything is going on well. In fact, that was the kind of arrogance the British had, and that was also what the local governments were doing. John Herbert, he was the governor of Bengal at that time. There were reports coming from across Bengal that people don't have food. There is a famine. He completely chose to ignore it. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, he was the finance minister at that time. He resigned, stating the indifference of the governor towards people's needs. The Civil Supplies Ministry, which was supposed to provide ration to people, they tried to cover up the famine with statistics saying, oh, we are having more exports. How can there be famine? That was the main problem. Everything was getting exported. Nobody had food to eat in India. But the Civil Supplies Ministry, they were hiding it. They were trying to mask this. But by May, June, even they could not mask it. They tried to pass an ordinance saying any official can barge into any place where food is stocked. Of course, they couldn't find anything because nothing was there. Everything was getting exported. People were dying of hunger. Millions of people died. AMRITA BAZAR PATRIKA, in a bold attempt, they published the pictures of the Bengal famine. They were horrendous. Children lying dead in their mother's lap, people standing like skeletons, man and dog fighting for food in the same bin on the street. This is just cruel. There was an image where a person holds a begging ball and sleeps because they are afraid somebody will take it. That's their only, where they can collect food and eat. It was that bad. So exports were happening rampantly. The government of Bengal had earned 1 crore rupees at that time. 1 crore rupees in 1943 just from the export, while millions of people died in India. The rice in the local market was being sold at an exorbitant rate. It was almost 1 rupee per kg at that time. 1 rupee at that time is equivalent to almost 1,000 rupees now. With all our technological advances and wealth, just imagine if 1 kg of grain costs 1,000 rupees today. How many families do you think can survive? Even now, there will be massive hunger deaths if something like that happens. Many journalists have called this out over a period of time. Amartya Sen, Dr. Mukherjee, everybody. Many people have written about this, but most Indians don't even know about this. Ramesh Chandra Dutt is known as the father of India's economic nationalism. He has said, the trade in India was forced, it was not natural. So anybody who says the British managed India well, please tell them about the Bengal famines. There are more things about our history, our true history. We'll explore them in the future videos. Namaskar.